So, we've talked a lot about different kinds of legislation today, and we talked about how standards will support that legislation. Well, standards, as we all know, are kind of norms. They establish agreed upon ways of doing something. And standards improve efficiencies. They enable economies of scale. They drive down costs. And we use standards every day throughout our work day and on our life at home as well. So when you think of standards, you think of things like electricity. There are standards for internet protocols. There are shipping containers that move goods from one place to another in a very standardized, structured way. Those are all basic standards. And frankly, data standards are very much the same way. So I want to briefly introduce our panel, and we're going to hear from each of them. We have Anna Kwok. Anna is with Structured Data Initiatives at Workiva. Steve, actually, I'm sorry, I'm going in order here.
No problem.
Yes.
See, I said we're supposed to sit in a specific order.
I know. Should have done that. Okay, Ted Potma, who is Chief Technology Officer at IGM Technology. We have Steve Horowitz, Technical Support Manager at NovaWorks. Anand Padmanabhan, who is President of Iris Business Services. And last but not least, Pramod Vital, Vice President at DataTrax. Okay, and this is just a sampling of all of the different providers that are out there that are not just XBRL US members, but that are other companies as well. And you see many people in the audience here from other firms that support data standards. So when we think about a standard like the UPC code, that provides great efficiencies, right? So the UPC code requires stores to use a scanning machine or a barcode machine, which helps them price products that they have to sell and actually track those sales. Now, they don't have to do that. It's totally voluntary, but it's much more efficiency, and it really enables economies of scale and makes it much cheaper, more efficient, cost-effective, does all those good things that standards can do. Now, I did a search on Amazon, and I came up with 20 pages of different types of barcode scanners that are on the market that could be purchased. And these are just the ones that are sold on Amazon. And they range in cost from $14 to over $1,300. Now, there's huge variation not only in pricing, but in features that are available through these different types of scanners, as you see here. And data standards are very much the same way. There are lots of different applications to produce data in machine-readable format, to collect data in machine-readable format, to consume and analyze that data. And that's because it all operates off of a standard called XBRL. So there are hundreds of data providers in the structured data world. And what you see on the screen here is, as I mentioned, there are lots. These are just the ones that happen to be XBRL US members, but there are others outside of the world of XBRL US consortium. And we're going to introduce you to a few of these organizations for a brief discussion about how they support structured data reporting. So first, let's see, what do I have first? We're going to start with Workiva, with Anna Kwok. And you can move your slides this way. This one. Okay.
Well, thank you so much. I'm Anna with Workiva. I would like to share a little bit about thank you. Yes, thank you. Yes. Obviously, the topic is how competitive markets can support government efficiency. And so to answer that question, I think that one thing that is very relevant is what is our experience with regulators? And so being a provider that supports many different regulators around the world, our experience is that it's very much like there are different states. Each state could be a regulator that is different than the next state. And you might have to submit to, for example, we just saw the demo from MSRB earlier. And so what we anticipate is that it is not a single authority and it's not a single mandate within a single authority. It could be multiple rules like what we see with, for example, the SEC. And then within that, the requirements are not one size fit all, even if it's within the same mandate. It could vary by the size of the entities or the type of entities. And then the way that these regulators and authorities would execute the structured data, there could also be different techniques. For example, there are different ways to design the taxonomy. There are different formats of structured data output. I know we hear a lot about inline XBRL. That was actually something that came along after 10 years of the SEC using XBRL. Originally, it was in a format that requires a special rendering in order for you to see it in kind of like the traditional table and report style. And then there are different ways that you can validate that data. And then, of course, the reporting environments can be very different. So what I mean by that is, do you start from a form where you just filling in the blanks? There are regulators that basically do that. It's similar to FERC's reporting, for example. And then you could start from a freely formed report, where one was just author your own report. It's obviously the report, it has to adhere to a certain guidelines and structure, but for the most part, it's freely formed. And then there is the question of, is it closed or open? Meaning, can you freely add additional topics and line items and things like that? Or is it closed, meaning you don't modify, by adding more rows of data or anything like that? So there are just a wide variety of ways that a regulator can, essentially enforce and require how the reporting is done, and then also how that is translated into structured data. And so now, how is it relevant for our U.S. government entities? And so the lessons that we learned is that structured data really. I'm sorry. Yeah, go ahead. So there we go. Yeah. Structured data is really not an afterthought. I think that it is best that it is not treated as something that, okay, now, I have to close my books and I have to do all these things. And then at the end, I have one additional step called creating my structured data or creating my XBRL. And the reason is, if the goal is for us to ultimately render your financial reporting in an electronic format, ultimately, what is going to enable that process and simplify the electronic process, as well as increasing the data quality, is the data flow matters. Just imagine reporting that goes into a form where you fill in the blanks, versus reporting that goes into a report that you can freely design the line items. That motion could be very different. And then also what you have is also then considering the differences in the landscape of your reporting and the structured data requirement. Technologies can definitely help. We absolutely believe that it is not a one-size-fits-all type of solution. Your government can be very large, complex entities, and they could use solution to help them organize structured and unstructured data sources. Then you could go down to the smallest level entities where, maybe paper ledger, they're still getting by with that. And absolutely, those two different types of entities are not going to use the same solution. But that is the reason why a data standard is really important, because the data standard informs what about the data point or the information that the solution needs to capture, what attributes about the financial data that needs to be captured, and then what format does it need to be expressed in that is widely recognizable and can be read by the machine, and the machine know exactly how to parse it out and say, okay, this is where I'm going to get the meaning of the data, this is where I'm going to get the date of the data, and this is where I'm going to get, is it in thousands or millions? And that is why a data standard like Expero is important, and that is why a data standard would enable software solutions to essentially respond and provide different solutions that scale for larger entities, smaller entity, more complex processes, and more simple environment, but producing compliant output. And the one last thing that I want to mention is the fact that options, in our experience working with different regulators around the world, options matter. There are regulators that we have worked with that they started off providing centralized solutions, and over time, technology changes and the cost of upkeeping, could be something that outpace their ability to keep up, and at which point commercial solutions could be very useful option for them. There are regulators that already accept or already provide solutions to their reporting entities, but they also accept commercially created filings. Also for the same reason, there are smaller entities that can use a solution that is more out of box, less bells and whistles because they just don't need it. And then there are more large and complex entities that actually need the facilities to help them connect the data sources and provide them with the ability to change ones, update everywhere, and increase the accuracy, reduce the time to deliver the reports and all that stuff. So option matters when it comes to a wide range of audience and different sizes, different types of entities. So I think that would be I guess like what I want to share with the audience today is that there are lots of companies that have experience and that can share back with our government community.
Great. Thanks, Anna. Okay, I think we're going to move on now to data tracks, actually.
Oh, okay.
So, and make sure you hold the microphone close.
Yeah, I think so.
And promote, if you could use the clicker there to advance the slides.
So, hi, good evening all. I'm going to touch upon the likely challenges or likely concerns from in the minds of the regulated entities, and how those challenges or concerns can be addressed by the regulators. Oops. Yeah.
I think you may be going backwards.
It's going backwards.
Yeah, there you go.
Yes. So how do I? Sorry for that. And first challenge be the how do I acquire the domain knowledge? Like, how long does it take for me to learn the XBRL expertise, the semantics and the validation rules? Second is what will be the appropriate solution for my use case, for the size of my company, for the nature of the transactions. What will be the appropriate solution? Third, do I need to go for an integrated solution, or do I need to stick with the simple solution, a standalone solution for compliance with the reporting? And fourth, is my data going to be secure? How do I control access to the data? And how can I track who accessed the data? And finally, the constraint, the resource constraints, the software cost, the manpower cost, and the timeline to comply with the regulation. So these are the major challenges. If I were the filing company, these are the questions that would be there in my mind. And the new good news is the XBRL as a technology, as a reporting format, has evolved significantly over the past years, and we have come to a scenario where the regulators, once we have the final rules from the regulator, it is just the filing community just need to figure out the appropriate solution by considering certain key factors, and then it is very easy to implement. These are the key factors that play a major role in deciding a solution. The first and foremost is the user interface. So there are several software in the market that allows quick plug-in of the taxonomy. They can just plug out the taxonomy, update the new taxonomy quickly, and the user interface is such that it lets the filers to focus on the data, and while the XBRL semantics is all handled in the backend. It's just easy to handle. It is not as complex as we think. Second is there is a wide range of software, the solutions available in the market. If you want an highly integrated solution, you have it. If you want a simple standalone solution, you have it. And there are software that allows the transition. You can implement a simple solution immediately, and then over a period, you can transition to an integrated solution. So there are various options for the filers to choose. And then the cloud providers, all the cloud providers, several cloud providers, or they do adhere to the necessary information security standards, and also guarantee the uptime. And it's not it's highly tightly controlled. And software as a default feature, several software as a default, they provide the audit trail. They can control the access to the data. They can choose which user will access which type of data, and the audit trail will keep track of who accessed the data at what time, with all the necessary the date and timestamp, and they're all preserved for future retrieval. And the next one is again the default feature of several software in the market, the preventive validation. It enables the users to pre-validate the data before they're submitted to the regulator. This kind of completely eliminates the possible filing rejection, and thereby avoids the filing anxiety, last minute anxiety. And the last, the preparatory filing. Recently we had FARC, the FERC regulator. They enabled the test filing program. They ran the test filing program, which was very useful for the filing community and the vendors. And this sort of prepared the entire ecosystem before the live season kicks in. So reiterating again, the XBRL implementation is not as difficult as we think. It is, once we have the rules, it is kind of autopilot. The filers need to choose from wide range of software based on their use case. And thanks for the opportunity.
Thanks, Pramod. Okay, we're going to move on to Ted with IGM Technology.
All right. Hello, everyone. I've been asked to speak for only a few minutes because I know we are all desperate to get to happy hour. So don't worry. I have a script and a watch. So here we go. My name is Ted. Some of you may know me. I'm the CTO at IGM. I've been doing that for about 10 years now. I've been working with XBRL for about 15 years now, and some people have been saying, I'm so long that, Lewis's hair was not gray yet, stuff like that. I'll throw my own joke on the pile. I've been so long that I've been working with some of the original spec authors who have since retired. Luckily, none passed away yet, as far as I know. And I suspect if you told me 15 years ago, I'd still be here 15 years later, I'd have laughed, but time makes fools of us all, doesn't it? So our product is called Gravity. The Gravity ecosystem supports organizations in automating the full financial close process for the Office of Finance. Something maybe a little bit different about us is we currently have a very strong footprint in the government sector here in the United States. We use Gravity to enable our users to automate financial reports such as the ACFR, which we've all been talking about, but also budget book, budgeting process, lease accounting, debt management, account reconciliation, and other functions that are not fulfilled by most organizations' ERP systems. Another thing that makes us slightly different is our data-first focus to disclosure. I like that Anna said, structured data is not an afterthought. For us, it is the first thought. What do I mean by this? Is that we consider an entity's financial data and how it's modeled and how it's managed to be the most important part of the process. If you can get that right, the rest of the process is really simple and doesn't need to be expensive or time-consuming or anything like that. If you can build an effective and usable model of financial data, those pain points sort of evaporate. At the core of our product is a data model we designed ourselves called MDFM. Without getting too far into the weeds of it, it's essentially a collection of hypercubes. And the nice thing about being at an XBRL conference is I can use the word hypercube without inspiring either apathy or abject terror in my audience. Obviously, there are lots of multi-dimensional data systems, out there in the world, but we designed ours specifically for financial close and reporting and to easily comply with standards like GASB 34 and GFOA. The process starts with data in our customers' legacy data sources like ERP systems, which is what I was asked to talk about. So we have a broad range of ETL, ELT technologies we can use to help flow data into our model. From there, we can work with, pre-built models, like specifically for ACFR or budgeting or stuff like that, that eliminate the need for any kind of manual tagging or mapping or things like that. We also provide a way to, express relationships about that data. Here's another fun word, which I don't know if you're going to like. For example, we can relate a hyperplane to another hyperplane, formulaically. That one's probably a little bit more of a weird word, but I really like it. And from there, we can output documents like on the right here, like PDFs that no one seems to like anymore, but I still think they're pretty good. Inline XBRL, plain XBRL, proprietary XML, Excel, a website, what have you, right? It doesn't really matter. Those are simply artifacts at the end of the process. And, there's no need to tag a document or re-tag a document when it changes, things like that. So I hope that demonstrates a pipeline that will allow customers to take data in their, existing legacy ERP systems and very easily meet regulatory requirements. That's our goal, to make it, very, very fast, and so that you don't have to wait 18 months after financial close to have your ACFR. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks very much, Ted. Okay, Iris.
Okay, I'm
Anand,
going to.
Oh, wait a minute.
Yep.
Good. Okay, I did it.
Are you timing me?
No, I was timing myself. I made it.
great. Okay, I'm just going to talk about just one single slide. Yep. So our background. So we have been working. We started building data collection platforms. That's where we started building taxonomies, and we were exposed to markets where we had mom and pop shops reporting. We had an NGO running a clinic in a remote village, a cooperative bank which was funding purchase of cows to farmers. So a wide, and of course, Fortune 500 companies, part of an ecosystem reporting into a regulator. So that experience of dealing with a market of, with filers of different sizes gave us the opportunity to dive deep into technology. And technology, we believe, can always deliver what is required for the market. So this fear that, it is expensive to implement XBRL is destroyed once you see how the technology can be used effectively. So in different markets, we have used different tools. Like for instance, we have over 3 million companies using our Excel-based tool, where you fill in data into an Excel template, you upload a Word document, it auto tags, and you're able to generate an output, an XBRL or a standard XBRL output, given free of cost to all the filers in the entire in the country. So, and that works beautifully. Imagine a mom and pop shop, no accountant, nothing, just has to fill up a simple set of forms, and it validates, generates the XBRL output, and you submit. And it can be as inexpensive as that. Download an Excel tool, and that's it. we have been able to, through that experience, build all kinds of more sophisticated tools to address market requirements. We have banks reporting into a central banking platform with sophisticated automated tools which directly integrate with the ERP systems. So that rich experience of working with diverse industry sectors, working with different sizes of organization, different volume of data, we have been able to build solutions to cater to markets, and build sophisticated tools on one side with audit trail, collaborative working to simple Excel-based tools which help you to submit the XBRL or IXBRL document to the regulator. So that rich experience we carry with us, and we work with in various pilots in new markets like the ACFR, and we learn from that process. And that way we are able to use technology to deliver to the market requirement and keep it as inexpensive possible, catering to a wide range of sizes and economies of size of an institution. Thank you.
Anand, thank you very much. Okay, we're going to move on to Steve Horowitz from NovaWorks.
Let's get this working right. Great. Thank you, Michelle. Hi, my name is Steve Horowitz. I am with NovaWorks Software. So I just want to briefly touch on how, as a software developer, we adapt to shifting requirements from regulatory bodies such as the SEC or FERC, or basically any body that we comply with. Our software at its core is an HTML editor. It allows you to apply tags to HTML files, so you can actually embed the XBRL into the documents. Now, to do that, you have to have an HTML file. You would convert it, and then you start applying tags to it. When a new rule comes out, we have to monitor these regulatory sites to make sure that we have a lot of advance notice to when these rules are coming out. We then have to begin, building what we think our solution is. We have to identify these challenges first. So with ACFR, this is a good example with the GRIP taxonomy coming out. We've applied that to our software. It's built in there now, but it's just a baseline. We're waiting for, more clarity on what this is actually going to look like. The reason why I'm bringing this up here is because as, filers or anyone looking to start complying with these rules, working with software vendors early has a lot of advantages. As these new requirements come out, if you work with a vendor, they can, ask you what are your challenges you're going to face? What are the issues you are going to deal with? We can identify those, and we can determine potential impact to both our software and both our users' environments, and see what challenges we're going to have to overcome together. Once we have those challenges identified, we would want to identify what the best course of action is going to be. That's going to be the best possible solution for both our software and you as a user. We need to make sure that we can work together to solve these issues. If it's a large or complex issue, we generally would reach out to our key customers to make sure that they are aware of what we're doing and we have a plan in place to help them. This is a great reason why working with a software vendor early and having that relationship going forward can really help give you a leg up on the compliance when it actually comes down and there's a final rule. Once we have that course of action, you want to keep monitoring these situations because these rules can change quickly. We still don't know, for example, like what final rules will look like on some of these requirements until potentially, months ahead of the actual document. We know what the final rule looks like, but the technical requirements of that implementation may be subject to some change. So monitoring that situation is the best way forward there. But once we have a plan in place, we've communicated with key stakeholders, we can roll out early access beta software. This is something that we have been trying to do more of lately. I know it's EDGAR, not ACFR, but the new EDGAR betas have been something that's on the mind of a lot of people here probably. And rolling out betas for that is very important. Once we have betas out, we can solicit as much feedback from users as possible, so we have time to adjust and make sure that we're not trying to hit a moving target that's moving too fast, because it is always a moving target. But once we have a software solution in place, customers have tested it, they're happy with it, we're rolling it out. We follow that through with agile testing. One of the key challenges here is that, there are occasional changes on day one of a, compliance deadline. When software goes live on the regulatory body, the software that we provide has to comply with that. So there's always day one testing to make sure that we comply with those rules and make sure that, all of our customers are compliant as well. But because of the rush to do that, we also have to make sure that we continue monitoring the situation. I can't speak for other bodies. I know we comply with FERC and the SEC, but it is entirely possible that there may be changes to forms after the fact. So it's important to keep testing as you go on these things. But yeah, that is a brief talk on why it's important to work with your software vendors ahead of time.
Thank you. I'm sorry, but I think we're kind of running out of time. So I think we're going to have to cut this session, finish this session now, and hopefully this gives everybody a good idea of why, the vendors, the software providers are really a critical piece of standards, not just in the data standards industry, but in lots of other industries as well. So please talk to all the exhibitors at the event today, and also talk to, these individuals here and others that you see here at the event.